the Lord of nations and the King of kings. Amen.
Amen.
Commissioners, before you, you have your agenda. Are there any items that need to be added to tonight's agenda or removed? Hearing none, do I have a motion that we accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next is the petitions of citizens for agenda topics. Mr. Vice Chair, do we have anyone?
We have none tonight.
All right, nobody signing up tonight. Next would be the consent agenda. You have the minutes of the February 15th, 2021 regular session and also the tax releases and refunds. Are there any items to pull from the consent agenda? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Liner,
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. Next is departmental matters. Tonight we have Ms. Tarsha McCoy, our Director for the Convention Center, who will come and present Minji's partnership agreement. Good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners, Chairman.
Glad to have you this evening.
Thank you for having me. Welcome, Commissioner Smith.
Thank you.
Craven County and the New Bern Riverfront Convention Center first announced in September of 1999 an exclusive agreement with Pepsi that only Pepsi products would be used at the new center. This agreement was for a 5-year term. As the convention center was being reopened after repairs for Hurricane Florence, it was decided that the center would offer both Pepsi and Coke products to our attendees per their request. We were recently approached by Minji's Bottling Group to be considered becoming an exclusive Pepsi facility once again. This agreement, shown in Attachment 3, would be a 5-year agreement beginning March 2021. Minji's Group would, in exchange for this agreement, supply the Convention Center with 1,000 annual sponsorship towards Convention Center self-promoted events, $500 annual in-kind product, and an annual marketing tag valued at $19,000 annually. Per staff review of the agreement with management and attorney approval, our recommendation would be to approve the 5-year agreement, making the New Bern Riverfront Convention Center once again an exclusive Pepsi product facility.
All right, Commissioners, are there any questions for Ms. McCoy? Here are no questions. Do we have a motion to approve the contract with Minji's Bottling Company?
So move.
You have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. We appreciate it. Next is Solid Waste, Mr. Stephen Astor, our Solid Waste Director. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Chairman. Thank you, Board, for allowing me to come here today and present on solid waste matters. I have 2 items for you today. The first item is a budget amendment and approval of purchase for 240 Bailey Lane in Vanceboro. The Board previously approved an assignment of contract for this property located at 240 Bailey Lane in Vanceboro. Subsequently, staff has obtained a survey, an environmental assessment, and a title exam, all for this property, and those due diligence items showed that the property is acceptable for the county's intended use. In turn, the county is in a position to close on the purchase of the property in the coming weeks. Staff and legal counsel recommend that the Board authorize the county to move forward with closing on the property. In order to do this, a budget amendment in the amount of $40,000 needs to be approved, and you can see that in Attachment 4A. The amount reflects the purchase price of $39,000 plus a $1,000 for settlement costs. The Solid Waste Department is requesting a roll call vote for the approval of the budget amendment in the amount of $40,000 and the approved closing of the purchase of the real property located at 240 Bailey Lane in Vanceboro, and to authorize the chairman, the vice chair, the clerk, the manager, the assistant county manager, and the county attorney to take such actions as they may see reasonably necessary for the same.
All right, Board, do you have any questions for Mr. Astor? Hear none, do I have a motion that we approve the budget amendment in the amount of $40,000?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Further discussion upon the motion? Hear none, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Liner?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes, thank you. All right, item B.
Thank you, Chairman. Item B is the approval of purchase contract for the property located at 241 Belltown Road in Dover. At the November 16, 2020 work session, the Board of Commissioners authorized staff to explore the purchase of 241 Belltown Road in Dover. The parcel number for that property is 3-030-116. This parcel is approximately 9 acres and adjoins the Craven County Fort Barnwell Solid Waste Convenience Center. The owner is willing to sell the property and has accepted an offer of $15,000. The next step is for Craven County to approve the purchase contract with Ronnie Gray. The county attorney is also recommending that the property boundary survey and the Phase 1 environmental assessment to be performed as part of the county's due diligence review. Craven County Solid Waste is requesting a resolution for exemption for that project. This exemption will allow the Solid Waste Department to contract with Avalos Engineering to perform these engineering and surveying services and forego the request for qualifications process. The Craven County Board of Commissioners are asked to consider the approval of the purchase contract of $15,000, the exemption of engineering and surveying services, and the budget amendment in the amount of $13,700. Those can be found in attachment 4B. The Solid Waste Department is asking for the board's approval and a roll call vote of the purchase contract, exemption for these engineering services, and the budget amendment in the amount of $13,700.
Okay, Board, do you have any questions?
Just a clarification.
Yes, sir.
So all we need is 13.7 to clear this and take it, or we need 15 plus 13?
Yes, sir. It's $15,000 for the purchase of the property and $13,700 for the engineering services.
Holy mackerel.
Mr. County Manager, you want to add anything?
Yes, sir. It's a big site. It's bigger than what we've been buying. It's 9 acres. What we're trying to make sure is there's no potential problems by acquiring this property that we would find by spending this money up front. It's certainly a lot of money to spend on this type of thing, but, and I'll certainly defer to the county attorney, we feel it necessary to do it before we jump in with both feet.
Absolutely. I'll add that, the boundary survey, I think this parcel has some water swamp type of things on it, so my guess is it's a little more difficult to survey than easy dry land might be, and I will absolutely say that, if we choose to forego any of the due diligence cost and something is wrong with the property, we'll spend way more than that in the long run getting it sorted out. So I absolutely agree with Mr. Astor that we should go this route with these due diligence items.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? And the motion is for the budget amendment in the amount of $13,700. Hearing no further discussion, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Liner?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Astor.
Thank you, Board.
Appreciate it, sir. All right, next we have with us Ms. Melanie Ray, our Director of Elections. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. It's good to be with you tonight.
Good to have you.
The elections would like to request the Board of Commissioners approval of a 2020 HAVA Fund subgrant for the purpose of improving the administration of federal elections. And the funds would be used for enhancing our election technology, updating our software of our current voting systems, and also improving and acquiring and replacing our ADA voting equipment with the new equipment due to the old ADAs becoming obsolete. So we're very fortunate to get this money now and be able to spend it on the expensive stuff on replacing ADA equipment. So we are asking for the approval of HAVA funds of $93,050.
Okay, questions from the board? Commissioner Liner.
HAVA grant. What's HAVA?
Help Americans Vote Assistance Act.
Okay,
It's federal money.
okay.
Have we ever received this grant before?
Oh, yes. They used to give it quite frequently. That stopped right after 2008. Your old Ivotronics and the old M100s were bought mostly with HAVA funds.
Okay.
We did, as a county, have to purchase our DS200s that we bought in 2014 because there were no HAVA funds anymore. So this is a very, very unlikely situation of them finding more money. I think COVID, some of that had to do with it, and it's very unlikely, they say, we could get another portion of HAVA funds in the future.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Ms. Wright? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? And the motion is to approve this budget amendment of $93,050. Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Liner,
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes.
And let me say, you have received, hopefully, email invited to our demonstrations. We have to, by law, go see a demonstration of 2 vendors. One of them we cannot purchase because it's not compatible with our current equipment, but we do have to show it. That's tomorrow at 11, and then the one that we're considering is Wednesday at 2. So you're welcome to view that live.
Could I also ask you while you're here, and you may not know this question, and I respect that, but we did read in the paper the other day about the desire from the North Carolina Board of Elections to maybe postpone municipal elections.
Yes.
Have you heard anything more on that in the
Well,
recent?
due to census, any municipality that votes by districts or wards, which would be City of New Bern, they're supposed to have their redistricting complete by the end of July. Well, that's not going to happen. To be able to have their 2019 elections. So we already knew that was a good possibility. The City of New Bern may have to postpone theirs to 2022. What our executive director is proposing, that all municipalities be delayed until 2022. And that's been suggested to the legislature.
Is there any time frame now that you might see that the
What
legislature?
she is suggesting is that the municipal elections happen in March, and then the primaries happen in May. That is the suggestion. Of course, the legislative can do, at their will, but the ones that have to look at it would be the hardest is City of New Bern because they're the only one in our county, along with 15 other municipalities that run election runoff. So you would have to figure out if they run in March, when would their runoff be? But all the other ones are plurality, so just having a March election would finish theirs. But it could, up in the air, they could decide to do all the elections in March or all the elections in May. It's really up to the legislatures now. They've got to do something, and hopefully they'll do it quickly so we have time to properly prepare. But
Any additional questions for Ms. Ray?
Well, one, to me, it seems that if we had all the elections, or the most elections that happen at one time, is going to increase voter turnout and increase interest in these elections. Is there any particular reason why the director is proposing March as opposed to part of the normal cycle?
I think she's really giving some options to the legislature. Sometimes if you have your municipalities, depending on how many you have in a county, it could make your ballot longer. As always, we do, when I give estimates to the municipalities, I always give them an estimate if they went to even elections. It's way less cost.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
It's way less cost. Trent Woods has a bill right now in the legislative to move to 2022 even elections, not have the 19 and move to 2022. It will save them from about a $4,000 bill to about a $500 bill. So it is something that I always try to make our municipalities aware of. I did try to get City of New Bern to move from election runoff to plurality. Didn't pull the trigger, but they've also talked about going to even. They're going to bring it up, I think, again now that they're going to be delayed to 2022. So it's a good opportunity, but legislative has to be a legislative bill. They vote and then a legislative bill. But it is cost savings, but the municipalities do have those options. But this year, they may not be given the option to delay to 2020. They will have to delay probably.
due to the legislature.
Okay. Any other questions? Not, we thank you so much. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you.
All right, next we have with us Mr. Roger Weatherden from the number 9 Township Fire and Rescue, and Mr. Stanley
Hey,
Kite.
Stanley.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, first I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight and present to you Mr. Roger Weatherden, who is President of the number 9 Township Fire Department. As you can see in your package, they were the recipients this year of a North Carolina Department of Insurance Fire and Rescue Division grant, and Mr. Weatherden has a request for a budget amendment. So at this time, I'd like to let him make that presentation to you, and I'll stand by if you have any further questions of me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kite. Good evening, Mr. Weatherden.
Evening, Commissioners. Thank y'all. When we put in for the grant, we had no intention of that having to come and ask for any reserve. But as y'all know, there's a little thing called COVID, and if you hadn't had it, thank the Lord that you hadn't had it, because I did, and it's no fun. So, but our bingo that we normally have in March, this would have been our 28th year straight that we've had it. We had to cancel. You can't get that many people to play bingo in one room, you know, to make any money. So that put us in a little bit of a deficit as far as being able to pay for our half of the grant. I have been able to, the last 5 years, to keep our budget at number 9 at the same level. I've not asked for an increase, but by doing that, we have been able to put a little reserve over in the county funds for instances like if we had a truck go bad or this situation like this. And so with this money, what it'll do, let us pay for the grant, of which we're replacing a 20-year-old generator. We're going from a 30 kW generator to an 80 kW, which better serve the community. Plus, at our substation, we're putting in a 20 kW so that will serve that end of the thing better. So I would really appreciate if we can take some money. I think we're asking for $24,900. That will be our half of what the grant would be.
All right, any questions for Mr. Weatherington? Commissioner Lynham.
Manager, what do they got left in their account if they take this much out?
He's contemplating you taking it from fund balance. The request is to take it from fund balance. Is that correct, Mr. Warren?
Says here,
Correct. He will have approximately 80,000 left in his fund on the county books. If that's,
okay.
if this is approved.
Yeah, but out of his funds, not.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I apologize.
Wait, I have lost the bubble here. Are we taking 24.9 out of fund balance or
His funds.
Township 9's fund
Out of
balance?
the fire district's fund balance that's
Okay.
being held on the county's books.
Okay, got it.
My apologies, Commissioner.
All right, any other questions? All right, hearing none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, I'll take that as a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Let me just say that I live in number 9 Township, and Roger and all these guys do a great job. The bingo is a great asset, just as Coast City has their Fireman's Day and Fort Baltimore has their night there. All of them are in a financial crunch because of that this year, and so I appreciate the board and their support for this. It will be a benefit to our community. All right, Madam Clerk, if you will, please call the roll.
Commissioner Liner,
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Bucher,
Yes.
Chairman Jones.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Just one more thing I'd like to tell you. This is 52 years that I've been a volunteer at number 9 Township ever since it started.
Thank you for your service.
On time.
You about beat Theron, hadn't you?
Just about.
All right, next we have Mr. Craig Warren, our Finance Director for the annual audit contract for fiscal year 2021.
Good evening, Board. I have one item on the agenda for you tonight, and that is the annual audit contract for fiscal year 2021. Thompson Price.
Hold on one second, if you will.
Right, I've got a message from Mr. Brunson saying the YouTube stream is not working.
Okay. All right. If you will, let staff know that.
I'm sorry.
No problem, no problem. Very important.
Okay. We have an audit contract here from Thompson Price, Scott Adams and Company. They've submitted their proposal for the county's annual audit. for the current fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021. The proposed fee is $72,600, the same fee charged for the fiscal year 2020. It represents year 2 of a 3-year cost proposal that was approved by the board last May. I am also pleased to announce at this point for the year 1 that the county was able to realize $56,833 with the savings from the previous fiscal year, which would be FY19. Not only that, the audit firm did a really good job and was able, working well ahead of us, and to assist us in getting that submitted to the state on time. So they did a very good job. Staff recommends that we continue to contract with Thompson Price Scott Adams and Company, PA, for another year and to perform the annual audit for the current fiscal year 2021.
Okay, questions? Yes, sir, Commissioner Liner.
How did we realize that much savings?
Well, like I said, I think the audit hours that were put into the previous audits each year kind of grow and grow. There's cost of CPI increases that they apply to it on their side, and I think every so often you have to kind of bid this out in order to bring it back down to more of a realistic cost.
What were we paying under our last contractor?
Well, we saved $56,833, so it was.
We had a $128,000 contract for our last audit?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, other questions? All right, hear none, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hear none. Madam Clerk, if you will, call the roll for us, please.
Commissioner Liner?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Booker?
Yes.
Chairman Jones?
Yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Greg. All right, next we have on the agenda appointments. You have there before you the list of pending appointments. Also, under current for tonight's consideration is the first Highway 70 Corridor Committee. Currently, Mr. Danny Walsh sits on.
Make a motion to reappoint.
All right. Do we have any other nominations from the board? Hear none, he will be accepted by acclamation. Next, you have the Clean Sweep Committee, Mrs. Debbie Kirkman Hodges. She seeks reappointment. I would ask that the board, if you would, to reappoint her. Do we have any other nominations? Hear none, she will be also accepted by acclamation. All right, you have before you a list of the upcoming terms for fire tax commissioners and also the Fireman's Relief Board of Trustees, so please take note of that. Any other appointments to consider tonight, board? All right, hearing none, next will be the county attorney's report. Mr. Grady.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I have one item for you this evening. This is the final approval on the sale of county-owned real estate that the county acquired through the tax foreclosure process. The track's out on Sand Hill Road near Dover with a parcel ID number of 3-058-071. The property has been out for upset bids, and we received no upset bids. The original bid amount was $1,750. The taxes foreclosed upon and the cost of the foreclosure together were $2,410.39, and the tax value on the property is $2,700. It's my recommendation that the board approve the final sale so we can sign the deed and get it back on the tax rolls.
Yes.
The person is purchasing the property, do they have to pay the taxes?
No, ma'am. Going forward, certainly they do.
I know that, but they don't have to pay the taxes to purchase. It's just a
No,
clarification.
well, I've got a puzzled look on my face because the purchase price is in part based on the taxes that the county did not receive originally. So in a very indirect way, my answer would be yes, but it's not a legal requirement that they dollar for dollar pay the taxes that the county did not receive over the years, if that makes any sense.
Okay, other questions? Hear none, do I have a motion that we adopt the resolution approving the conveyance?
So moved.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hear none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Davis.
nothing further.
All right, appreciate it, sir. All right, next on the agenda would be the petitions of citizens for general topics. Mr. Vice Chairman, do we have anyone?
We do not.
All right. Next would be the county manager report. Mr. VEIT.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Appreciate the opportunity. I just have 3 quick things for you tonight. 2 of them involve your calendar. We'll do those first. A reminder that after your next meeting on March 15th, there is a scheduled work session, tentatively scheduled from 10:30 to 2:30, as we discussed a couple meetings ago. Just to give you an idea, we're still putting the agenda together, but we're going to have representatives from DOT here, talk about secondary roads, upcoming projects, and bridge replacements. We're going to have Mr. Antry and Mr. Jones from the tax office talking about revaluation. Mark Finlayson and Rhonda Murray with ACT will be here to give you a presentation on the Military Influence Overlay District. And we also, based on comments of the last meeting, will have a discussion on convenient site accommodations for larger trailers. So there's other things I probably didn't scratch down, but that's the meat of it right there. Also, Commissioner asked me earlier about budget work sessions. I want to go ahead and get those on your calendars. I know it's awfully early to be talking about it, but now's the time to get it on there. Give me 1 second here. It would be the first meeting would begin on May 17th. You have a normal day meeting on May 17th. We finish that meeting, take a small break, come back, do our fire department budgets that day. May 18, 19, and 20 would be our traditional budget work sessions going through the general fund. Try to get through the book in that amount of time. And then, of course, we would then schedule meetings as necessary based on that review and the amount of staff time it takes to go answer questions or whatever needs to be done. But I want to get those first 4 dates on your calendars today so we could get those scheduled.
Okay, Mr. Chair, so that you know, the afternoon of May 18th, I have an NCMAC meeting. So I'll be here for everything else but that, but I have to be there for that.
Okay, all right.
Kind of matter, is it 3 days or 4 days?
It's the 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Okay.
But remember, you're already here on the 17th for your commissioner meeting.
All right, any other questions from the board?
And, Mr. Chairman, outside the 2 calendars, I just want to bring the board's attention House Bill 119. Many of you have probably received some email correspondence from the Association of County Commissioners. This is a bill that was brought forth in the House to deal with COVID relief for small businesses, but it's revolving in the tax world, and there's a good bit of concern from counties and cities about what the impacts would be. We're still doing research internally on a staff level. We aren't prepared to give you a recommendation one way or the other, but the association has already came out with a bullet point. It's a nice sheet they sent out on Friday. I'd recommend you look at that. And it could be a significant revenue decrease for counties depending on how that bill ends up. So just want to put it on your radar. House Bill 119.
And it's hot and it's running.
Yeah.
Kind of matter, on the 18 and 19, 20, what time do you say those?
We just start at 8:30.
8:30, okay.
Usually try to run all day if we can.
Now, Jack, are we going to do budget in here, or are we going to go to the?
I was going to suggest the convention center. I think it's a little more comfortable there, but it's the board's call. We did it here last year. I didn't enjoy it that much with the little tables. Down there, I think we can get spaced out.
All the board in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We'll just have to notice that, but we'll do that when we get closer.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you say it would be a significant decrease
Yes,
in
ma'am.
revenue?
Potentially. Potentially. So what it does is it would do two things. One, it would give, and this is where there's some gray area, leeway to businesses to pay their taxes, meaning giving them a period of time, which isn't the end of the world. It's just a slow pay versus a no pay. The other calls for a one-time revaluation of those businesses based on revenue loss. I can't tell you what that would be. It would just be how widespread and how big the difference was. And I think you're going to have businesses that are disproportionately affected. Some have really risen during the pandemic, and some have gone to nothing. So it's hard to tell you, and I think that's where staff needs more time to see what exactly the wording is. But we're going into a reval anyway, so it's just not immediate relief, I guess is my statement. So yes, there's potential for significant revenue.
But it is hard to balance the budget with...
With that hanging over our head, it'd be almost impossible.
Right.
And your fire departments and folks who rely on that, they're going to have the same challenge you would, along with your municipalities. Don't forget, I mean, they have the same system that we use.
Did anyone bring to their attention the need for funds to keep the counties operating?
The statement I hang my hat on was one, and I can't take credit for it, was made by one of the staff at the association, is that 70% or more of what counties do is state mandated. I mean, you have very little discretionary funding in your budget. If you look at just DSS, health, law enforcement, and education, you're at 80% of your budget right there. And all that's mandated services in the county by the state.
But keep in mind also, the way it's written right now today, they have to pay it at the end of the year, come December, whenever they do it. But they can ask for an extension as long as they pay the fine. So you're looking at 2 budget cycles that you don't know how much money you got coming in.
So on taxes, you have a finite time typically where most of your money comes in, right around the first of the year, right? So we live off fund balance for July, August, September, October. It starts coming in, then it gets really hot, and then we make it through the rest of the year. And you do this over and over and over again. So if you have a portion of your population that has 12-month increments, you're going to get slow paid, right?
Right.
You're going to have to drag it out. So that fund balance is going to have to cover more. So sometimes, and this is a perfect example of why counties need fund balances that aren't just 8%. For situations like this, you'd have to have a much larger fund balance to make it work.
Great point. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, commissioners' reports this evening. Commissioner Liner.
Sir, I do. If this board would indulge me, I've had some calls in the last couple of weeks on animals, and I've gone through our animal ordinance, and I'd like, if this board would be all right, have staff take a look at that ordinance. There's nothing in there saying where those dogs and cats or animals are taken to once they're picked up by us. They're not necessarily taken to our shelter. Now, we spent over $1.5 million to improve that shelter, and some of these animals are going to other shelters. So I'd like to see if we can maybe put something in there that any animal picked up by our animal control officer goes to the county animal shelter. Because they have no way of knowing. The owner it's picked up from sees that tag, county animal shelter. They call the animal shelter and they said, we don't have that animal. So I think we need to, if it's all right with this board, to have the staff take a look at that.
Okay, Mr. County Manager.
Yes, sir. We got it.
Okay,
Question, Commissioner, what other shelters might they be going to? Do we know?
Yeah, the one across the street.
Which is not affiliated with the county.
No, that's a private organization, nonprofit.
Right.
Interesting.
okay. All right, staff, y'all want to work on that?
Sir, would you want that on the 15th, or?
If you could, if you can have it ready by then, yes, sir.
We'll take a look, see if we can get done quick.
All right.
Sir, that's all.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Liner. Commissioner Mitchell.
Two things, Mr. Chair, and thank you. Hopefully it can be heard. I'd like to echo what Commissioner Liner said. An animal is personal property. If the county picks up my car for any reason, I expect the county to be able to tell me exactly where it is and return it to me and not give it to somebody else or sell it to somebody else. And I feel the same way about an animal that is somebody's property. So I think we need to address that in the ordinance. I think it leaves the county wide open for a lawsuit with it. So thank you, county staff, for moving on that quickly with short time. Totally different issue. I have gotten a number of phone calls from parents in my district about the availability of lacrosse fields for local youth lacrosse competitions. With it, I like lacrosse. It's a sport that kids of both sexes can play. You don't have to be terribly tall or terribly big. It is extremely inclusive. And according to the parents, they are having difficulty utilizing county facilities. I don't know about this, but I'd like for the county, for staff to look into it and get back to me in terms of what is available and what is not. But it's a significant concern, and has particularly come out during COVID when safe opportunities for sports have been limited. But that's all I've got, sir.
Okay. All right, County Manager, you write that down? Okay, thank you. Commissioner Smith.
I do have something I would like to announce, that we are having a COVID vaccine, I guess I would say giving. We're going to have a process at Bryant Chapel Church in Coal City, and we're having, I think, a very good response. We have currently about 80 people registered for this vaccine, and it will be given on the 8th of March. We're still taking applications, so if there's someone out there who would like to get the vaccine, we want them to register. You can call me, and we have 2 other people. We have a flyer. I didn't bring the numbers right now, but I have working with me Lauren Wilson from Coal City, from Bryant Chapel Church, and I have Elder Erlinda Dobson. She is the elder for the African American Episcopal Zion Churches for the New Bern District, and Fern Cotton, who is the social justice person for Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And they are doing a fantastic job, and I'm so happy with the job that they are doing. When we finish with that area, we plan to move to another area. We're having a meeting tomorrow to kind of get all of our ducks in a row so that we'll make sure that we're ready for the vaccination process. So I'm happy to say that at this time we seem to be having the bus on the road and right people on the bus, and we're moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. All right, Commissioner McCabe.
Yes, I in the same boat that Mr. BEATRICE Smith is in. We are having the COVID-19 vaccination shots on Wednesday at 1:30, which is March 3rd at 1:30 at the Hollow Community Center. And we also had some people from the health department come down there to arrange the tables, so everything is ready to go for Wednesday. So if anyone of y'all like to come and help out, you're quite welcome. And it's supposed to rain, but I'm praying it doesn't rain that much. So a lot of times it rains, people just won't come, but they should come with this. So hopefully it'll be very successful. And I did notify the sheriff. He can have a couple of patrols down there and make sure everything is going right, stuff like that. And it should go along very well. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner McCabe. Yes, Commissioner Smith.
Speak back. I can give my number. My number is 252-633-3724. So if anyone would like to call me and get registered for that vaccine, they can do so. I'm also taking names for people who are taking the vaccine in New Bern. So if you want to get the vaccine, if you live in New Bern and you want to get or need the vaccine, you must be 65 or older at this point. But we are offering that vaccine in New Bern. This is the vaccine from the county health department, and we're offering it in New Bern. And soon, when we finish this district, we're going to move to Vanceboro area. So please take the vaccine. It's safe and effective. I've taken it, and I've had good results. So I encourage everyone to do that.
All right. Vice Chair Booker.
I don't have anything tonight.
Okay. Two things to share with the board. First, each of you have seen in the paper, I think, this weekend about the concern about the trash along our roadways, and especially down the 4-lane. The county manager and myself, because I'm your representative on the CRSAMA board, we have been in discussions and talking with the staff there at CRSAMA, also with the Sheriff's Department, our sheriff. And tomorrow, the county manager has a meeting with a list of individuals from the adjoining counties to also discuss how we can do a better job in trying to pick up trash as a 3-county effort to be led by the CRSAMA. We are still, as county government, looking for an individual to take care of our roadside pickup. That job is still out there, and we're taking applications for it, and they're going through that process now. The sheriff has agreed to put inmates back on the highway now. It was stopped for a while because of the COVID situation. So there is some traction. I do want you to know that, there's a lot of conversations going. Do you want to add anything I said?
Mr. Chairman, no, sir. I think you hit it well. I think it's not a Craven County problem when we're talking about the large trucks. We got to work on where the transfer stations are, and if we got to work with Carteret and Pamlico County to have an agreement. But there are things locally. We know that there's a lot of trash that comes out of the trucks. There's a lot of trash that goes out the window too, and we got to have people who are more cognizant not to do that. And we've still got illegal dumping, unfortunately. And there was an article this past weekend, I don't know if the board read it in the paper, but talked a lot about what's going on in Croatan Forest and other areas. So a lot of different ways it's got to be addressed.
This board has had a lot of discussions about this in the past. Commissioner Smith, we've discussed about what can we do on the enforcement side. And that's a big problem, and one that we don't have a lot of control over as a Board of Commissioners. Mm-hmm. But I think, as county manager and myself have talked right much over the last week or two about this problem, we're going to all have to put our heads together going forward and try to find some realistic solutions. He stated, I think we're going to probably do a better job in the pickup in what we've got coming forward with the CRSAMA coming on board. Hopefully, it's got to be approved by the board there and put it into their budget. But with them coming on board with us and what we're doing, also our investment in Clean Sweep and what you already do, but we've got to have some help on the enforcement side. And that's where we're all going to have to come together and try to, figure out how we can make that happen. So, yes, sir.
I think, and this is a problem that's been here forever, and it's not going away soon, I don't think. But two comments. Number one, I've seen too many cases where the trash coming off of trucks that are hauling trash is a big part of the problem. And I think there's got to be some way to, trying to think of the right word, some way to explain to those folks, and it's basically one hauler who hauls most of the trash in our county. They need to understand, somehow we need to get the message through that they're going to pay a price if they don't figure out how to keep this stuff on the trucks. So that's one thing. People pick up trash and put it in their garbage can, or they take it from their house. It goes in a truck, and next thing you know, it's coming back out of the truck, and we got it back on the road. That's one issue. Most of you know I've got a small property on the north side of Bridgeton, and I probably have a 2,000-foot frontage. And once a week, I walk with a trash bag the front of my property, and it is constant. It's beer cans, it's soda cans, it's fast food packages. Those are the three main things that I pick up. And it's just, as I left there today, I turned out of my driveway and I looked, and there was fresh stuff that wasn't there yesterday. So I know it's a really difficult enforcement thing, but it seems to me that, and maybe we need to have a discussion with the sheriff and say, hey, what can we do? Unmarked vehicles parked along the side of the road, and just sit there for a few hours and nail some people. There's got to be some stiff fines, and I know that part of that bill that they're going to double the fines. Well, you can quadruple the fines if you don't catch anybody. Right. It doesn't do any good. So I think it's a two-pronged thing, and we need to attack both.
Mr. County Manager, I think when we have our, I know we're going to discuss some trash issues at our work session. Maybe we just fit a little bit this in on the 15th and have a little bit further discussion. I just want to let you know as a board that Crosama is going to be a team player in this. They're at the table. They want to do everything they can to be good stewards and try to correct some of the problems that, some folks have identified. So, second thing I just want to say, I want to thank Commissioner Smith for her leadership in helping us with the vaccine. She's been able to help us, her and Commissioner McCabe, in getting this equity allotment out across the county. And I thank you for your leadership. You spent a lot of time in it. I think we got some good news about our allotment, and I'll turn it over to the county manager. I think he maybe want to just highlight a few things there, and then I meant finish with my comments, so I think you may have another item.
Well, and I got excited up at the podium, which happens about once a year, and I left off the most important thing. We're just talking about COVID vaccines, and I continue to get compliments on the county staff at the convention center and the job they're doing. Just today, I heard from 3 different individuals talking about their experience and how well it was run. So those folks need a lot of kudos, and I'm really proud of them. Second thing, Mr. Chairman, you're exactly right. We got our allocation on Friday, which would be for not this week, the next week, and we got an additional allotment for an event. We got an additional 2,300 doses in Craven County. That's the most one-time shots we've got. We're still maintaining our baseline of 1,170 of the Pfizer and then 200 of the Moderna, which is the equity allotment. The hospital's still getting their allotment, and Goshen, which is a FQHC located out near Riverbend, is getting an allotment. So we're really now starting to get the quantity that we should have been getting in January. We're thankful for it. I talked to Mr. Harrelson today, and some kind of late-breaking news. Every Monday, the bank of shot appointments for next week opens up, and they noticed as the day went, there were still significant amount of slots left. And they went ahead and opened it up to 3A, which is any teacher, child care worker, daycare worker, private school teacher, whatever. If you're involved with the school, they open those slots up, and they did end up filling up. But that's good news that we're moving into that population. On March the 10th, the state will allow us to go into phase 3 in totality, which is all essential workers. There's not a great definition for essential worker. So, obviously there's some guidelines from the CDC and the state will use, but that will then, with the additional shot coming in next week, that opening up, we're going to see a much larger segment of population have the opportunity to get it. So I want to make sure I said that before we left tonight.
Good news.
Mr. Chair, are we putting out press releases on this?
On?
Opening it up to 3A, the sites.
It did go out today, ma'am. It did. As soon as that decision was made, it went out. It did.
Okay, good. Thank you.
And just for information, we had, when I say we, the health department had already met with the school system, and there was already an allotment that was supposed to begin this week, 350 for the next 3 weeks. So this will just enhance that.
Yep.
And I think they have somewhere around 1,800 employees. We don't know if all of them will take the vaccine.
Right. They got 1,100 on the list that signed up.
1,100. So
that was the 350 for 3 weeks. We'd get them all one shot. But by opening it up today, some will come get it beforehand outside of that. So that 350 can go to your private schools, parochial schools, daycares, preschools. You got a lot of folks that aren't public school in this county that work with children. So
we're making good headway. I mean, I think we got a lot to be thankful for right here. We really do. All right, Commissioners, do you have any other reports that need to come before us? Because we have a closed session this evening. Anything? All right. Tonight we have a closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 A and 3 to consult with the attorney and this will be attorney and client privilege. Do I have a motion that we go into closed session?
Move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. We will probably take about a 5-minute